Chances are you've heard the story of Narcissus. A man sees his reflection in a pool of water and becomes so enamored with it that he refuses to look away. He stays there, completely fixated, until he eventually withers and dies. Not because he was cursed or punished, but because he couldn't stop chasing a version of himself that wasn't real. Now, what makes the myth so relatable is that it's not just about vanity. It's really about being stuck chasing a fantasy. And the Deep, he lives in that exact mindset. Season after season, he keeps chasing the version of himself he wants the world to see. A hero, a leader, someone important. But every time things blow up in his face, he doesn't grow or learn. He just rebrands. New mission, new belief system, same insecure, hollow core. And that's exactly what makes him both funny and kind of dangerous. He has no idea how clueless he actually is. He'll ruin lives just trying to prove he matters, and somehow still believe he's the one being wronged. He's deeply insecure, emotionally immature, and to put it bluntly, kind of an idiot, which is exactly why people keep using him. He's perfect for the cult that rebrands him, he's perfect for Homelander, who just wants obedience, and he's perfect for anyone who gives him the illusion that he matters.
Hey everyone, I'm Nikanak, and I make videos twice a week about everything I question and overthink, and today we're talking about the Deep, his full arc across seasons 1 through 4, and we'll also talk about what might be waiting for him in season 5, whether he finally breaks or just finds a new mask to wear. So without further ado, let's get into it.
Hello viewers, it's me, the Deep, aka number 2, and the greatest superhero team ever assembled.
Now, before we talk about the man stuck in the loop of reinvention, we need to talk about the boy who started it. Because Kevin Moskowitz didn't just wake up one day as the Deep, he was shaped into him. And like everything else in his life, most of what we know right now about his past comes from a podcast interview he gave while promoting his ghost-written memoir, Deeper. He's sitting next to Cassandra playing the role of a changed man, trying to sound raw and reflective. And like most things with the Deep, there's probably a kernel of truth buried under a mountain of image management. Still, it's revealing. He talks about his body changing in ways no one could explain. Gills, sensory overload, a complete breakdown at a mall where he hears goldfish screaming for help.
My body was changing in ways no one else could understand. I spent a lot of time on Google trying to figure out what was happening to me. Like there was something really wrong.
His parents, the same ones who approved his compound V injection, are completely clueless. And apparently, according to the Deep, his grandmother or aunt, I forgot who it was, had a third nipple and they thought the gills was a genetic deformity. I'm so sorry, I'm hilarious. So obviously, idiocy kind of runs in the family. But disregarding that, the only thing that Kevin knows is that people are horrified by him. The kids at swim class humiliate him. One even pukes on him when they see his gills. And suddenly, he's not Kevin anymore. He's fish boy, ugly boy. He says therapists didn't know how to deal with a fish boy. But you know who did? Vought did. They told him he was special, that he had a gift. They gave him a purpose, a brand, a new name. The Deep, the Lord of the Seven Seas.
I had a gift, the power of the ocean. At the time, I believed it was God-given, and I was absolutely chosen.
But of course, once Vought told him he was chosen, he clung to that identity with everything he had. Not because it was real, but because he felt safe in it. It was easier to be the ocean guy than to deal with the deeper truth, no pun intended, that he never figured out who he actually was. By the time he was 12, Vought was already sending him on solo missions. Not training, not observation, actual assignments. His first job was to monitor cartel activity near the Galapagos. And the Deep explains this.
Actually, it's a live volcano, so very hard for humans to travel to. And, well, that's why Vought sent me.
which makes me question, did Vought want him to return?
But I guess we'll never know. Now, going back to the Deep story, while he was there,
He befriended a pufferfish named Icarus, and according to Kevin, Icarus was his best friend, his only friend, which honestly tells you everything. Even as a kid, his only real connection was with a fish, and he's been chasing that same kind of approval ever since. However, no matter how tragic this is, even in these sad moments, there's still this constant thread of self-focus. Everything is filtered through how it made him feel, all completely valid, but all circling the same core idea, me, 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 me.
But every time I saw those boys from the Y around the neighborhood, they laughed. I mean, no one felt bad for me.
So, yes, the Deep has trauma. Yes, his childhood was painful, but that does not excuse what he becomes, and it certainly doesn't explain away the choices he makes. If anything, it just makes them harder to forgive, because the Deep that emerges from this podcast is not someone learning from his past. He is someone who is repackaging it to make it feel like a sob story. He does not reflect, he reframes. He edits out the worst parts, glosses over his harm, and focuses on how misunderstood he feels. And with all that said, let's go to the version of him we actually meet in season 1. The version who has power, status, and opportunity, and chooses to use them in the worst way possible.
Ow! You're not stupid. You're smart. Very smart. Right?
Now in season 1, the Deep truly sees himself as the Lord of the Seven Seas. That title might sound grand, but the way he carries himself says otherwise. When we first meet him, he's the one welcoming Starlight to the Seven. He puts on this show with a few awkward lines that almost make him seem harmless. And for a second, we all probably thought he's trying to be kind.
Here, come on. Give it a test drive. Come on. Oh, you okay?
But that moment falls apart fast. He tells Starlight to sit in Homelander's chair to get comfortable, and when she gets emotional, he tries to relate, says he felt like a fraud when he joined. She tells him she had a poster of him growing up, and he immediately assumes she meant Homelander. That might sound like some kind of line that he would say, but it reveals exactly how he sees himself. Everyone around him is a legend. He's just the fish guy. He can talk to sea creatures, swim fast, and look good shirtless. And that is not enough for him. And honestly, I just have to say this, things could be a lot worse for him. He literally could be like Web Weaver. Talking to fish and being able to swim underwater without holding your breath, I find that pretty cool.
but to each their own apparently.
So when he feels insecure and overlooked, he grabs at the one thing he can control. He corners Starlight, implies that her place on the team depends on what she's willing to do, and coerces her into performing oral sex. Then he has the nerve to make fun of her afterwards.
Beginning to wonder if you'd even show up. I mean, all that pressure, it's a lot for anyone to swallow.
That is not a moment of confusion or miscommunication. That is exploitation, and it sets the tone for how the Deep handles power. He wants to be taken seriously, especially by Homelander, so he starts sucking up in every meeting, always trying to prove that he deserves a bigger role. He keeps saying he could be doing more, that he's capable of more than water rescues and flashy dives, but he never actually follows through. He does come up with ideas, but he doesn't show initiative. He just blames everyone else around him. Sometimes it's Vought, sometimes it's the rest of the Seven, and sometimes it's the literal sea creatures he talks to.
Fucking idiots, I could be doing so much more. But no, Vought just wants me to make my big, pretty dives in the water and flash my fucking biceps for Instagram.
He also tries to frame himself as a misunderstood underdog. He says that he also went through a phase of hazing when he joined the Seven. But even if that's true, he uses it to avoid responsibility instead of working through it. His logic is, if I suffered, then no one can call me out. But being mistreated in the past doesn't excuse becoming an abuser in the present. And despite all of this, he still sees himself as someone who could do good. He pitches a mission to Stillwell about dolphin welfare, insisting he wants to focus on something that actually matters. But the second she shuts it down, he doesn't regroup. He doesn't push back. He doesn't write a foolproof plan on how to do it. He kidnaps a dolphin. It flies through the windshield and dies on impact. And somehow he doesn't take that as a sign to stop. So what does he do? He doesn't learn. He doesn't grow. Obviously not. That's the deep. Come on. He spirals instead. He binges on junk food, wallows in self-pity, and tells himself he's the joke of the 7. He even starts calling himself the diversity hire. And the worst part is he genuinely thinks he's having some kind of introspective moment. But none of it is real growth. It's just yet another way to avoid taking responsibility, to looking at yourself in the mirror and actually understanding everything you've done. So when Starlight outs him publicly, he's finally forced to face some consequences. But even then, his focus isn't on what he did. It's on how it looks. He films a half-hearted apology.
It's harder to sell.
To sell it, yeah.
It's a little hard.
Perfect, let's do that. Speaking out, we can all become stronger by listening. Okay.
Gets shipped off to Ohio and starts plotting his return. And not once does he reflect on the harm he's actually caused Starlight. When Stillwell tells him the real reason he's being removed, he tries to spin it back onto himself.
We need to get ahead of it.
Okay, there may have been a misunderstanding, I know that. Can't you just, handle it?
And he's still dodging accountability for assault, so nothing changes. Now in Sandusky, he has nothing. No missions, no team, no audience, so he starts writing a memoir. Or at least he starts calling it a memoir. He brings a girl back to his room, and when she sees his gills, she mocks him. Then she assaults him. And yes, I do believe it's clearly meant to mirror what he did to Starlight. But instead of treating it as a moment of reckoning, the show uses it to highlight how little he learns. He's shaken, but he doesn't reevaluate his choices. He just finds another way to feel like a victim. Then he tries to save a lobster, that lobster dies too. It's the same story again. Kind of good intentions, zero awareness, and someone else pays the price. Eventually, he starts shaving his chest and head, calling himself names in the mirror. The show frames it like he's turning a corner, but he's not. This isn't self-awareness. This isn't some kind of reckoning or some kind of understanding that he's had. It's self-pity that's kind of dressed up as transformation. He thinks changing how he looks will fix who he is, but what he really wants is to be seen as someone who's changed without doing the actual work to change. That is what defines him throughout season 1. He doesn't want redemption, he wants a reset. And as long as he can blame someone else, as long as he can avoid responsibility and accountability, he will keep doing the same thing over and over. But the interesting part is that there's still a part of Kevin Moskowitz in season 1 that wants to be the good guy. That part never fully disappears yet, but it's buried under so much ego, insecurity, and yet again avoidance that it can't get through. And because Vought has never made him face the consequences of his actions, and he himself never owned up to anything, he has no reason to change.
Hey man. Want a fresca? Thanks.
Now, if season 1 ends with the Deep being exiled, season 2 is where he tries to crawl his way back. Not by reflecting or growing, I've kind of hammered that in that he doesn't really do that, but by finding a new identity to slap on like a bumper sticker. This time, it's the Church of the Collective, a fake religion disguised as self-improvement, which honestly is perfect for someone like the Deep. He does not want healing, he wants a shortcut, preferably one that doesn't involve apologizing or admitting to anything.
Help you get back into the 7.
So when Eagle the Archer and Carol from the Collective show up, offering him a second chance, he latches on immediately. Not because he believes in any of it, but because they promise him something he can't resist: relevance. They tell him he needs to confront his trauma and reconnect with his body. So the church gives him shrooms that lets him talk to his gills.
Because that's what you do. You imagine women will laugh at us, so you humiliate them first.
And in true Deep fashion, the moment becomes all about how he deserves love. He has been through pain. He just needs to find himself. Not once does he consider what loving himself actually looks like, or how it might involve accountability. Because no, for the Deep, self-love just means liking his reflection again. Then the church arranges a marriage for him.
These two skeletons with their arms around each other. That's love.
Not for love or stability, but for optics. And of course the Deep goes along. He even starts parroting the church's talking points about finding purpose and cleansing toxicity.
I now know the kind of man I want to be. The kind of man who calls out injustice when he sees it. Hey, dude, that's not cool.
But none of it is real. He is just swapping out one mask for another. Cult member instead of fallen celebrity. Inspirational instead of disgraceful. It's all just branding. This is the pattern with him. He thinks the issue is how he's being seen, not what he's actually doing. Eventually, Maeve offers him a deal. She asks him to recover the black box footage from the Flight 37 crash. If he helps her do that, she'll help rehab his image. And of course, the Deep agrees instantly. Not because it's the right thing to do, but because it gives him another shot at climbing back up the ladder. The footage ends up being useful, but once again, it's not about justice for him, it's about using someone else's pain to bargain his way back into the 7. He even throws the one person who actually tried to help him in the beginning of the season, Eagle.
Oh, he's like a brother to me. Yeah, he was there for me when I was at rock bottom.
Under the bus when Alistar implies that Eagle is no longer part of the program. At first, he defends Eagle, says he is a friend, but the second he realizes that loyalty might cost him, he flips.
Yeah, no, now that you mention it, he did seem pretty toxic, yeah.
And that moment, yet again, says everything about him. Loyalty, values, friendships, they're all negotiable for the Deep. The only thing that matters is getting back to the 7. Now, when A-Train gets accepted back into the 7 and the Deep doesn't, he loses it after everything he has done.
I signed over my bank account to you. I filled out all those fucking children's workbooks. I married some weirdo. Did everything you asked. And when I found out that we're all just fucking space boars, I didn't laugh.
And for the first time, he realizes he has been used. He tells off Alistar, storms out, and declares that the church is a scam. And sure, it's sort of a cathartic moment, but not because it does truly show growth, it shows ego. He only turns on the church once they stop giving him what he wants. He never questions why he fell for it, or what it says about him that he was willing to sell himself to a cult in the first place. Season 2 ends with him rudderless again. No church, no 7, no clue what he actually stands for, but instead of facing that reality, he just looks for the next thing to cling on. And as long as someone offers him a script to follow and a shot at being admired again, he will say whatever they need him to say, because yet again, for him, that is easier than asking what kind of man he really is.
Then you've left me no choice but to run.
Not without my dolphin.
Now, before season 3 begins, the Deep does what every person who's learned absolutely nothing does. He releases a memoir. We already talked about his podcast interview with Haley Miller at the beginning of this video, so I'll just fill in the gaps of what happened between season 2 and season 3. The memoir, of course, wasn't actually written by him. It was ghostwritten by Shia LaBeouf's writer, and to promote it, he sits down for an interview with Haley Miller and Cassandra by his side. The whole thing is honestly just a PR stunt, but the Deep is loving every second of it, and to be honest with you, I also loved every single second of it, because if you know anything about this channel, we love ourselves some lore building extras. But I digress. From the get-go, the interview tells us exactly who he is, where he's been, and where's his mind at. When Haley asks what message he wanted to convey in his book, or rather in a chapter, the Deep says,
"Not everyone is going to get the profound philosophy of the book. It's pretty heady stuff. And, sometimes I read a page and I'm like, wow, whoever wrote this is so impressive. And then I remember it's me.
And he's dead serious. This is his version of humility. He talks about forgiveness, mostly forgiving himself, and claims he's done the work, that he's changed.
So when you've done something unforgivable, the first person you have to forgive is yourself. I'm a flawed man, but I've truly worked on myself, and I've never been prouder to just be me.
Now, if you've noticed the language, it's truly, yet again, once again, and for the millionth time, never about accountability, about sounding like someone who's grown, while quietly avoiding any meaningful reflection. And just like with the church, it's all a performance. He says buzzwords like living amends and feminist ally, but when asked how fourth wave feminism speaks to him, he answers with,
and they have these really great pussy power hats, right, babe? Yeah, I got one with rhinestones on it. So yeah, they stand for a lot of what I believe in, like pussy and other things.
He even claims he's vegan now because of course he does. That's the kind of on-brand, PR-approved transformation he thinks makes him a good person, which makes what happens in season 3 even more brutal. But we'll get to that. At one point, Haley also brings up his public downfall after Starlight's allegation, and he says,
I can legally acknowledge that I made a mistake, and mistakes are bad, but learning from your mistakes is good. Right?
Which sounds like a first grader learning about consequences, to be honest with you. Except this man is writing a book about his redemption arc. Point of this chapter is that this entire interview makes it clear that the Deep has not changed. He's just gotten somewhat better at sounding like he does. And in doing so, he proves the central truth. He doesn't want to be better. He wants to be seen as better.
After your last TED Talk, Vanity Fair called you the thinking person superhero.
They did.
Now by season 3, the Deep is once again trying to climb his way back into the 7. And this time, he gets there. But not because he's earned it, not because he's changed, no. He gets there because Homelander needs a pawn.
I had something made for you, Starlight. It's a peace offering. It's 24 karat gold with certified conflict-free diamonds.
And unfortunately for his character, none of that bothers him, because for the first time in a while, people are paying attention to him again. He is on TV, he is doing podcasts, he's doing all the famous things he wanted to do. And it doesn't matter if it's fake as long as it feels like fame. So, naturally, the Deep doesn't question it. From there, his role becomes even more humiliating. Now remember in the previous chapter I said that he became vegan. Well, Homelander makes him eat Timothy.
The Timothy Foundation is named after a dear friend of mine who tragically passed away this year.
As some twisted loyalty test and what I believe a show of power. But the Deep does it. He eats his own friend to prove himself. It's sick, but it's also the perfect metaphor because the Deep is someone who will literally eat at his own friend if it means keeping his seat at the table.
Wasn't that delicious?
And because in this season, Homelander rewards blind loyalty, he gives Deep a shiny new title, Head of Crime Analytics, which sounds impressive until you realize the Deep immediately screws it up by firing half of the department, calls it his dream job without really ever understanding what it is. So classic Deep. Not much has changed, it's just getting progressively worse.
Oh, and one more thing. Everyone just needs to sign up for performance reviews. Just a formality, nothing to worry about.
Now in this season, his marriage gets worse too. But let's be real, it was never exactly built on solid ground. Cassandra was basically managing his entire public image while he just coasted. She'd write the speeches, run the interviews, and he would stand there pretending like it was all him. Then, one day, he tells her he booked himself an interview. She suggests they prep, like they always do, and he suddenly decides he doesn't need her. And that's when she finally tells him what she really thinks.
You propped me up, huh? Right, you wrote a few lines. I'm the one how to fucking sell it.
Let's see how well you do without me.
Oh, I'll be great without you. Without you overnoting me all the fucking time.
You're an idiot, Kevin.
They fight. She leaves, and the Deep, once again, is stunned. But not because he's heartbroken, but because he lost another piece of the illusion. But it's fine, because Ashley probably will hire someone else to be his new Cassandra. He'll memorize his lines and keep pretending he's got it all under control.
In the season 3 finale, Homelander tells the Deep to kill a senator, and the Deep, desperate as ever to stay in Homelander's good graces, goes through with it. It also goes to show that season 3 is very bleak for his character, not because he hits a new low with this, but because he doesn't even notice it. He doesn't really question it for a second. There is no moral compass, no critical thinking, just a constant loop of needing validation and doing whatever it takes to get it. He is not being manipulated anymore. He is doing it himself.
It's just that you make a lot of really great points, sir.
Deep. Blow A train.
What?
By the time we hit season 4, the Deep isn't completely gone. Not yet. There's still a piece of Kevin Moskowitz hanging on. You see it in the way he talks to Ambrosius. He vents to her. He confesses how messed up it felt when Homelander ordered him, Noir, and A-Train to kill his own supporters just to frame Starlight's movement.
Noir was right. It was so fucked up.
You have every right to be upset.
He knows it's wrong, the same way he probably knows that killing the senator was wrong. But, of course, he still does it. Now Ambrosius tells him to leave, to swim away with her where they can live in peace. But he won't, because he doesn't want peace. He just wants the fame that he already has. So he stays, and it all gets worse from there. He starts sleeping with Sister Sage while still seeing Ambrosius, and Ambrosius notices. She gets jealous, they fight, and she tells him the truth, the same truth Cassandra told him.
You won't be laughing when you realize she doesn't respect you.
She does respect me!
Wake up, Kevin! She's using you!
And the Deep breaks her tank. He lets her suffocate and die because the Deep doesn't want someone to be honest with him. He just wants someone to toot his own horn. Then Ashley shuts him down too. But the second Sage gives him a bit of validation. He puffs up and marches up to Ashley to show off what little power he thinks he has.
I am the Lord of the Seven Seas. You talk to me like that again, and I will drown you in your fucking toilet, you stupid bitch.
Just like he did with Starlight back in season 1. It's the same pathetic playbook. He only acts tough when someone props him up. Around the same time, Noir tells him he's leaving the Seven, and the Deep, now fully bought into his new motto, violence is power, tells him that they're doing important work. Noir asks what work exactly are they doing, and the Deep says,
Need to know, bro. Need to fucking know.
Because he doesn't know. He never knows. He just regurgitates whatever Homelander tells him. Now, after Ambrosia's death, Homelander is having a meeting with the Deep, and the Deep says he finally has clarity.
I finally have clarity now. Good. I will kill whoever you want me to kill, whenever you want me to kill them. I'll kill every goddamn fish in the ocean if you say so.
That's when you realize the last piece of Kevin Moskowitz died with Ambrosius. He goes to the boys' HQ, rants about being cancelled, tells Starlight he's not sorry, punches her, and doesn't hold back.
I do not respect your truth. I do not honor and cherish your story, and I do not fucking apologize.
There's no more pretending, no more rebranding, and by the end of the season, the Deep is alone. Still loyal, still eager, still kind of pretending he matters, but ultimately alone. He obviously didn't learn, he didn't grow, he didn't even spiral, he just settled, and that's what makes him dangerous. Not just because he's clueless, but because deep down, I think he knows. He knows it's wrong, he just chooses to do it anyway because it guarantees him a spot. And at this point, any idea of him wanting to be a hero is gone. He's just Homelander's henchman.
Look, I know this is hard to imagine, but some people laugh at me. But you know what I realized? When I crush someone's nose into the back of their skull, they're not laughing anymore.
Now, by the time season 4 ends, the Deep has burned through every sliver of goodwill he might have had. Not that there was much to begin with, but still, it's gone. But if season 5 picks up right where things left off, with Deep and Noir taking out Vought employees, I do think Ashley's going to be next on their list.
Oh, bro. The other Ashley. This Ashley's not even on the list.
Well, I don't know. Everyone here is named fucking Ashley.
Now, I've talked about this in my Ashley video, and I still stand by it. Her first real fight might be against the Deep, and honestly, I really hope she wrecks him. Maybe she injures him, maybe she just freaks him out so bad with her powers and everything she's become that he runs away screaming. Or maybe she takes both him and Noir out. I'm really not picky here, I just really hope that Ashley wins this fight, or they might go their separate ways. However, Chase Crawford, who plays the Deep, says,
what would be your dream death pitch for the Deep? If you had to pitch a dream death for him.
Dream death pitch? Drowning somehow. It'd be really odd.
And when he was asked how would that even work for a guy who breathes underwater, he said,
how would that happen?
I don't know.
Okay.
Drowns a bowl of soup. I don't know.
Which, honestly, I'm also fine with. That's exactly the kind of dumb, tragic, ironic death this character deserves. Now, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't read the boys' comics. Skip ahead if you want to avoid any info that might potentially ruin the boys season 5, although I'm very hesitant. But if the show decides to stick to the comics, which they really haven't when it comes to Deep's character, it would be kind of wild. Because comic book Deep, he's just there. It's not the Deep we definitely see in the show. But the funny thing is that by the end of the comic books, he actually survives. He's the only one who makes it out of the 7. I guess we'll just have to wait and see in which direction they go. And of course, obviously, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Is there redemption? Is there ruin? What do you think is next for the Deep?
I too used to be brainwashed by soda until I found out that soda is basically just a bunch of sugar and water. Who knew?
So just like Narcissus, the Deep is completely consumed by a fantasy. He's stuck, staring at the version of him he wishes were real, and by the time season 5 rolls around, we'll see if he finally looks away, or just like Narcissus, withers chasing the reflection. And if you're still here, thanks for watching. And now remember, the important thing is to always keep questioning. Even me. Till next time.